Welcome to Global Tax Talk. My name is Jenny Chong, a PwC International Tax Services Leader for Asia-Pac. I'm here joined by Chris Wu, Asia-Pac Tax Leader, Tax and Legal Services Leader, here based in Singapore. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks, Jenny. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of things happening in this region. So I wanted to start asking you a couple of questions about how business in Asia, are generally doing. What are the macro trends in this region, and what kind of challenges our business are facing? The top concerns you see, that's impacting this region.
Okay, I think that's an easy question. If I were to describe it in one word, it would probably be uncertainty. I think there's a tremendous amount of uncertainty going on globally, but also very relevant to us in Asia-Pacific, because Asia-Pacific seems to be affected by things going on in the rest of the world, such as the United States. The uncertainty is coming from various matters. Obviously, there is the broader customs and tariffs issues, which was announced recently by the US. I think that has changed the outlook relating to global trade. It's not just trade with the US, but I think within Asia Pacific as well, as many of our clients start to figure out what is the impact for trade with the US and what should they be doing outside the US amongst each other, trying to find alternative markets and trying to find alternative sources of products to hopefully take advantage of lower tariffs. Obviously, as you know, the highest, of course, being China, although there's now a 90-day pause. But I think that's only going to be 90 days. Who knows what's going to happen after that? So a lot of our clients are figuring out what should we do. And even when we ask them, how do you model for it? They're saying, well, let's wait and see, because things change so quickly. Right? So that's one area, and we could go on for quite some time with that. The second one I would say is, I think, broader geopolitics. I think the broader geopolitics comes through from, I suppose, competition and trade, especially among the two largest economies, again, between the US and China. But I think it's broader than that, as we saw previously in terms of the influence on other countries. And then, of course, there is, the potential of conflicts, etc. I think all that is also adding to the mix, although maybe not as direct and immediate as customs and tariffs. And maybe I'll finish off with the last thing closer, I suppose, to our industry, right, in terms of tax. I think the increasing complexity and responsibility which is being faced by the tax function in terms of reporting to various tax authorities, it's becoming more complex. And of course, the most recent one is around Pillar 2. So maybe I'll just pause there.
So I think the second question I wanted to talk about is about the tax environment in this region, because a lot of countries like Australia has implemented measures around the tax transparency. Do you see that it's a trend in APAC region, and how the tax authorities are increasing gathering the data about the companies and initiate the tax audits? What kind of challenges our companies are facing in this region, and what do you see the trends here around that area?
Yeah, I think tax transparency for Asia-Pac, we're maybe a bit slower in the game compared to the rest of the world. But I think that is fast changing. Obviously, Australia, I think, has been leading the way, and they're advocating for even more transparency, even on a public level. But I think the transparency we're going to see is obviously one thing is around the disclosure. The disclosure in terms of what we need to show for the, in terms of meeting the compliance needs. And the compliance needs extend to obviously direct taxes, indirect taxes. Transfer pricing has always been a big topic. And now with a new system of reporting around Pillar 2, all the more so there has been an assumption that there is more transparency. But maybe taking a side turn towards the transparency side, it's not just the numbers behind the compliance.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot more transparency around even structures
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
ultimate beneficial ownership, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just being able to move your headquarters from one country to another country.
Mm-hmm.
There's also questions around transparency as who's the ultimate beneficial owner. Color around that company, that it may not be a company which is based in country A, but actually in reality a company that comes from country B.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that transparency also translates to, again, our earlier point around some of the geopolitical situations and even perhaps customs and tariffs. Because I mean, a big issue around customs and tariffs is the country of origin rules. Where exactly does the product come from, right? So I think all that affects transparency. It goes back to what does it mean for the tax person? I think customs and tariffs may fall into more the tax areas because there's so many similarities. But certainly, I think the tax function of tomorrow is going to get challenged around the first issue you raised, uncertainty. The second issue now that they're going to face more transparency. You have to assume everything is invisible,
right,
or rather visible to see everything. Right? There's no shield to make it there's no opaque shield anymore. You have to assume everything is there and visible to tax authorities. I'll finish off with one part around transparency, which is, of course, EOI, exchange of information. I think we had heard earlier on today in our tax symposium, the tax authorities talking about information availability, and they're talking about information sharing within other authorities. I think we heard that directly, and we're no stranger to that. But certainly it's a reminder that tax authorities are sharing information, of course, where regulations and agreements allow.
Yeah. I think the last question I wanted to just ask you, so with all these things happening, the trade, the geopolitical, the Pillar 2, so how do you suggest the company deal with it? You talk about the tax functions. So how do they build a more robust tax function and the tax department to deal with all these challenges, given everything that's happening around the world?
I think most tax leaders would want to say that they need to have a larger voice and a seat at the table. Now, which table that is, of course, obviously, if it can be the C-suite, even better. But certainly, they need to be in a position where they can have autonomy. Autonomy meaning that the tax function would fall centrally. Right? So the tax leader, whether he or she is in China, he or she is in Tokyo, Sydney, Singapore, wherever, needs to be that owner of the tax function. Because the tax function can't just exist within one country. For it to be autonomous within one country is, I think, something which is not only not advisable, but frankly can be quite dangerous because various tax folks can do other things. So with that autonomy, then of course, they're being able to then centralize the tax function and take greater ownership of the full value chain around tax, right? And the full areas which tax should be involved in. So whether or not it be around looking at the changes to supply chain, looking at strategizing where to move, whether they're going to re-domicile, whether they're deciding that they need to move factory from countries X to country Y, I think that needs to be figured out as well.
I always heard that the tax leader asked to do more with less, right? So even though you have increased the compliance burden, but you have to deal with it with less resources because a lot of companies are cutting budgets. They just don't have the luxury to go out and hire many people, for the tax functions. But I totally agree with you. We're living in a world where the tax people not only are the technicians, they have to be business partners. So wherever the business is going somewhere, you need to be there, to support them. You need to understand the whole, factors that may impact a business solution. So not just, one thing. And you cannot just deal with the tax afterwards, because when you make a business decision, the many factors you need to already take into consideration. For example, Pillar 2, right? So before you just understand that country's tax, and now on top of that, you need to understand the implications of Pillar 2 and also the new tariffs. So what does that mean to the business kind of restructuring, or you expanding into the new market? So I think those are just require tax leaders to think much more and build a more capable tax function and the tax team to understand those broader business issues.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Businesses need to invest in the tax function.
Mhm.
It's no different from businesses now wanting to make sure that all their data is secure, right? Cybersecurity and the controls around data has increased in that functions, and the governance role has increased. Sustainability. Now, businesses need to make sure that whatever they do has a good ESG element as well, sustainability element, because it's expected by the market. So to me, tax isn't any different. It has an equal, if not maybe a higher role in all that. So I agree. We need to help our tax leaders pass that message along. I believe the tax leaders, our clients, are convinced, but it's more a question of them helping to elevate that message to the C-suite, the CFOs, and the CEOs and the boards.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Chris. Those are really good points. And, thank you for joining me in this global tax talk. And we just really look forward to, having this great session and also more, in the future. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.